today on B5 Bob's channel. What is going on over here? Stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome back. So today's the day. That means I'm going to start reassembling everything. Finally. I'm really excited about that. And what I did was I compiled a list of all of the different bolts and torque settings needed. So that way when I'm putting it together I can just reference this really quick. And I'm not wasting time trying to go back and forth to different manuals or the internet to look up specs. So I basically, when I removed any bolts or anything or nuts from the car, I was putting them in numbered baggies. And what I did by doing that is I can just go through those bags of nuts and bolts backwards, and then I shouldn't forget anything while I'm putting it back together. So that's kind of what I did essentially with this list. So you can see, like, I started with 33 downpipe nuts. So that's when I'll attach the downpipes first. 32 and 31 are the heat shield bolts, and then the snub mount. So I basically just went down the whole list and listed out all the torque settings needed. The intro to this video is kind of interesting. When I came home from work today, I could hear a loud hissing sound. And I was like, oh, that sounds weird. I wonder what that is. So I went to the garage, and sure enough, my air compressor was running non-stop. And my regulator, I think the burst disc failed or blew out on the regulator. So it was basically just bleeding off air. So I don't know when this happened, sometime today, and usually I have my air compressor on an on-off switch. So when I'm not working out in the garage, I just flip it off, and that way it doesn't run unnecessarily. So I forgot to do that last time I worked in the car. So I know for a fact that it wasn't doing that this morning when I left for work. So, but I mean, the garage was so hot, it smelled like burning oil. So I don't know, my air compressor probably was running for hours, and which isn't good. So I'm gonna have to try to figure that out. I probably won't need the air compressor for reassembly of the car. It's nice to have, but I'm used to working with hand tools anyway. So one other thing that I wanted to show you was today's Wednesday, and Sunday night was when I finally pulled off the stock downpipes. And what I noticed was so the car sat for about 24 hours. So it was, let's say, Monday night. I came out to the garage, and that was when I saw some leaking oil on the floor underneath the car. And it kind of bothered me, really worried me. And so I was asking around on the forums and stuff. This is my first turbo car, so I don't really have much experience with turbos. I know that especially with these S4s, a little bit of oil gets into the charge pipes, or actually kind of a lot of bit of oil in my opinion, but everyone tells me it's not that bad. But so I asked around, and the general consensus was, you know, either rebuild your turbos or install F21s, Franken turbos, or you know, put it back together, and it should be fine for the time being. I don't have the budget or the money to install Franken turbos, and I probably would want to go KO4s anyway. But where I'm going with this is I did pick up some used KO3s, so I have those sitting around, and I was like, well, shoot, man, if my turbo's leaking oil, maybe I should just swap out the KO3 with the lower mile KO3. So my car has almost 130,000 miles on it, and I presume they're the original turbos, original KO3 turbos. So I picked up some used KO3 turbos that I was told are 40,000 mile turbos. I don't know, it's the internet, so who knows. But basically, long story short, I determined what I'm going to do is just put the car back together, run it until a turbo pops, and then at that point, then I'll pull the engine and swap the turbos, probably for more KO3s, or if it's a year from now, maybe KO4s. We'll see. So, oh yeah, so let me show you what it looked like underneath the car. Okay, so now this is what I saw, this puddle of oil here, and it's basically dripping from the passenger side turbo. Now, so this is quite a substantial bit, I would say. This is about 2 days worth of dripping or whatever, so take it for what that's worth. But maybe this kind of explains what's happening in most everyone's KO3 cars and KO4 cars. I just test drove a stage 3 APR turbo kitted car, and sure enough, his driver's side intercooler hose popped off on the test drive, and it was spraying oil and it looked very similar. So what I'm guessing is this is probably happening all the time to all of our cars. And the thing is, usually the engine is, you know, more flat, or well, here, let me show you. The engine isn't pitched downward and backwards like it is in my setup right now, so that oil most likely drains forward into the intercooler rather than backwards out onto the floor, like, or I guess into the downpipes. So I don't know, I thought this was kind of interesting, and I was kind of freaked out about it at first, but the more and more I thought about it, I guess this has pretty much been leaking like this since I've had the car in December. Car's running strong, the car's building, has no problem building boost. I don't have smoke coming out of the exhaust, so it is what it is. But you know, this maybe kind of shows you just how much oil is kind of leaking. So I guess on a day-to-day basis, it's not too bad or not too much. Like I said, so I last cleaned this and checked this out on Monday, and now today's Wednesday, so this is about 2 days worth of oil drippings. And yeah, so anyway, that's where I'm at right now. So what I'm going to do is start reassembling the car, and I'll give you some more notes as to what I have in mind here. So here it is. So another reason I'm really excited to put this car back together, today I picked up a cheap used Stage 2 Plus ECU. I was told that it's an EPL tune. It should pull up to 21 psi of boost and tapers down from there. Also, it has the rear O2 sensors deleted and the the exhaust gas temperature deleted. So basically, with the 2 Plus tune or 2 Plus ECU, I would be running test pipes, is what they call them. So essentially, no catalytic converters, no rear O2 sensors. Now, I'm gonna try to fabricate my exhaust in a different way so I can go back to stock relatively easily. Stock meaning I'll be able to basically remove that test pipe, swap in a pipe that has a cat and an O2 bung, plug in my O2 sensors, and then swap my ECU. So maybe that would take a half hour at most. The reason why I want to go that route is for fuel economy. So I have no clue what to expect with the Stage 2 tune. I've seen log files where pretty much the fuel injectors, the stock fuel injectors, are maxed out in terms of duty cycle. They're basically firing non-stop. So obviously I'm not going to be in throttle all the time, but I probably would be, let's be honest. So I mean, I'm already seeing as Stage 1, I'm seeing anywhere from maybe like 20-21 miles per gallon when I drive normal, and then downwards to from like 16 to 18 miles per gallon when I'm in the throttle a lot. So that's why I kind of wanted to go this route. So what my thinking is, during the week or whatever for work and stuff, I can just go back to either Stage 1 or even stock, so Stage 0 or whatever, by swapping in the cats and the O2 sensors, and then I can go on the weekends, or when I want to go drag racing or whatever, I can go to Stage 2. So what I might end up doing is just keeping it at Stage 1, so it's kind of like a happy medium. But for Stage 1, I would need my O2 sensors, and anyway, so that's why I'm going to have the test pipes that'll have the O2 deletes. and because of the way I'm doing it, these downpipes, they're Tantrum Works downpipes, so they're not even sold anymore, but they're basically 2.5-inch downpipes. So the cats that I'm looking at getting, I'm gonna buy them used most likely, but they're 2 1/4, and my stock exhaust was 2 1/4. So right now my Catback Miltech exhaust has an adapter that goes from 2 1/4 to 2 1/2. So the Miltech Catback was 2 1/2 anyway. So basically I'm gonna have 2 1/2-inch downpipes into an adapter that goes from 2 1/2 to 2 1/4 for, I don't know, a couple feet, and then it'll go from 2 1/4 back up to 2 1/2 from where essentially the Catback system is. Yeah, I know you can get an extra 10 horsepower or whatever, or 5 horsepower probably if I kept it 2 1/2 straight all the way back, and that's something I can always change out or redo later on easily. I was also watching some videos today that kind of compared 2 1/2-inch downpipes to 3-inch downpipes, and they're gaining anywhere from 5 to 10 horsepower just on that change as well. So that wouldn't be something that I would even be interested in until maybe stage 3, if I ever go that route. Like I said, this is a Tiptronic car, so I'm not really planning on putting a ton of money into it, but I do enjoy it, and we all know how we all get bit by the Audi mod bug, and it just becomes a money pit to the point where people go stage 3 with their tip cars, and then they end up converting them or swapping them over to 6-speed transmissions and everything. So we'll see where this goes, based on time, money, whatever, interest. And if you guys like these videos, please comment, rate, subscribe, and just let me know, that you like them, because I mean, this does take a lot of time, a lot of effort to make these videos, to bring this to you. All this information is already online. It's no big secret, nothing major here. It's just that my hope with bringing these videos to you is to make it a little more accessible, a little easier to find, a little easier to follow. I'm more of a visual learner rather than reading and digging through forums and having to post something and then wait for someone to respond back. So these cars are fun. They're really fun cars. They're a bear to work on, but man, once you figure out how to work on them, it's not that big of a deal. So that's why I'm just gonna put it back together. If I pop a turbo, whatever, I'll pull the engine. I should be able to pull the engine, swap the turbos in a weekend or whatever. So yeah. So stay tuned. I'm gonna start on this. I gotta get going, and yeah, I hope you like what you've seen. Okay, so here we go. To install the new downpipes, what we have here is ECS Tuning's Test Pipe Downpipe Installation Kit, and this is part number ES2576064. And what this consists of are 2 gaskets for the downpipes, brand new studs, crush washers, and brand new nuts. So for this installation, we are not going to need to use the studs, which is a good thing. The studs come with it in the event that you were to break off one of your stock studs and need to replace them. My studs did not break, so I'm not going to replace them. Okay, so rather than film the entire reassembly process, I'll just kind of take little notes of things that are different than when I disassembled everything. So I am mocking up and putting in the driver's side downpipe here, and I was having problems getting to the bottom nut. So let's see here. You can kind of see. Okay, so there's the bottom nut. So what I had to do differently was you can see there's a hole there, here, and over here. I removed the driver's side drive shaft heat shield. So that's this guy here. So it's just 3, I think these are 5, number 6 Allen key. So it was pretty easy. I was able to break them free by hand, and then by doing that, I was able to get in here now with my 15mm wrench and I just been tightening this guy down a quarter turn at a time, and I got it pretty tight. And so yeah, I just wanted to make note of that. So I did not have to remove this heat shield to remove the stock downpipes. Somehow I was able to get in there, but I could not get a wrench in there easily to reinstall the new downpipe. So I'm assuming it's just because it's larger or something. So yep. And oh, let me show this too while I'm here. This is how you set up the hanger. I had a little bit of a problem remembering, so I went back to my videos. So the nut, you can see the spring. The nut is on the left side of the bracket, and then you have on the right side the spring, the keep, and then the actual bolt. And then it kind of pivots on this on the upper hanger piece part. So this is that heat shield that I had removed. So I just reinstalled that. That's just 3 bolts. I want to say those are 3 13mm bolts. If you remove that and you're like trying to figure out how to reinstall that, there were 3 bolts, but one of the 3 was longer. The longer one goes in the middle, so that the longer one goes here, which is for the location of the hanger for the downpipe. So short one all the way up top, long bolt in the middle, and then underneath is the other short bolt. So no big deal with that. So here we are. I just need to tighten these down more, torque them, and you can see I pretty much already have the passenger side in. The only problem I'm having is trying to get it to line up with the hanger. So I'm kind of just going slow here and figuring all this out. So stay tuned. Alright, so here we are with another kind of small issue here. We're on the passenger side again, and I got all the bolts you know, pretty tight, not torqued down or anything like that, and the lower bracket on the downpipe is not lining up with the stock hanging bracket for the downpipe. So let me show you here. So on the left you can see that's the downpipe bracket. On the right you can see the stock hanger. So when I overlap them, it's not even close. So what I did was I marked it with a marker from the back side. I'm going to pull off this silver heat shield in the front. Well, first I have to remove the downpipe, remove this heat shield, then I can get to the bolt that holds the stock bracket hanger on. I'll remove that bracket, or I'm sorry, I'll remove the hanger, and then I already have it pre-marked, so then I'll drill a hole just above where the stock hole is, and then I can I'll be able to bolt it up. So tried doing a Google search. I didn't see anyone else having this problem. I don't know, this brand downpipe isn't even made anymore. This is a Tantrum Works 2.5-inch downpipe. So I wasn't expecting any custom fitment. The guy that sold it to me didn't mention anything, but here we are. So okay, stay tuned. Alright, here you have it. This is the passenger side downpipe hanger. The bigger hole is the stock hole. I just drilled in the smaller hole. This is the bolt, and it just barely fits through. I would have drilled it bigger, but that's the largest drill bit that I have. I don't even know what size this is, but yeah. So I just used the bolt as a reference, and actually the bolt that I was just using here is the bolt for this. So this is the actual hanger bolt, which is a ton smaller. So that should be good. So I'll get this bolted back in place. It goes just down there, and then I will install replace the heat shield. This is what went over that. Remount the downpipe and see how it fits now. So stay tuned. Alright, so with these downpipes, the heat shields that go over the turbo don't seem to fit, the O2 sensors don't seem to fit in these holes here. So what I'm going to do is notch this out, basically remove this section here. This is the driver's side heat shield. Now what I did was I already bolted in the passenger side, and I kind of don't want to remove the passenger side. So the easiest way would be to use just tin snips, but what I'm going to do is just use my cutoff tool. Okay, there you go. So, to use the use this cutoff tool on the passenger side, I'm gonna have to probably remove the heat shield, and didn't want to have to do that because I already installed it. I got it bolted and clamped in. So I'm trying to decide if I want to remove it again or just wait till tomorrow when I can get my tin snips. So tin snips, you could just cut right through it. I could probably do it while it's still mounted in the car. So there you go. Okay, so here is the passenger side. So I already pulled it out. With the passenger side, I was already having problems getting both of the bolts that hold the heat shield on. So I'm probably just going to go with this one bolt here, and then the band clamp that goes in the bottom that holds it on. So for the passenger side, the O2 sensor is right about here. This is the EGT sensor. So what I'm going to do is trim this piece here, and just using the cutoff wheel. So let me get my safety glasses here. Okay. Here we go. Okay, here we are. So I just cut that off right there. And I'll just end up cleaning this up a little bit with a file. So I'll spend a few minutes doing that. But here you go. And then now the O2 sensors should be able to fit in there. So before I bolt it back in completely, I'll make sure that the O2 sensor fits this time before, so I don't have to undo it again. So there you go. I wasn't going to do this tonight, I was just going to call it a night, but I really wanted to get the subframe bolted in tonight. Tomorrow night is the last night I'm going to have to really work on this without any interruptions. So we got to make this happen. Let's do this. Okay, everybody, here we go. Here are the downpipes finally installed. So it wasn't too bad, pretty straightforward. These are 2.5 inch Tantrum Works downpipes, and I just finished fabricating or modifying the heat shields. So what I had to do was cut some notches in them so the O2 sensors would fit and clear. And here is the driver's side. Might be able to kind of see. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer. See how I notched it there. And it's hard to see, but there's the passenger side. So I got everything hooked back up, and I had the subframe raised up. I was about to bolt it on, and then I realized I totally forgot the heat shields. So, but when I had raised it up, I also realized I was missing a wire, so a connector. So you can kind of see the wire that has the heat wrapping on it. The gray, almost looks like duct tape. So that wire had fallen down on top of the transmission. So I found that. Here's the driver's side. So I'm really impressed with these. These are really nice, really clean. I wanted to keep these O2 sensors in case I want to, go back to stock or stage 1 or something. I don't know what to do with them though. Like, I want to cap them off and have them tied up, and then I can pull them down if or when needed. So I'm gonna have to come up with something. If you know anything that I can use to kind of cover them up, protect them from the elements, keep me posted. Otherwise, maybe I can fabricate something with a bung. So maybe get a bung and then a cap. So, put a cap on one end of the bung, screw the O2 sensor into the other end of the bung. I don't know. So, looking up here, I don't really see much leaking besides, obviously my turbos, which we already talked about. There does seem to be a possible leak in one of the goosenecks, which is a common leak. So it's the, you can see the silver hose clamp on the bottom. That's where I suspect is leaking. So I'm not going to touch any of this stuff for now. If I want to play with any of this stuff, I'm going to rip the engine out because right now it's not broke. So I figured if it's not broke, don't fix it. But yeah, look at all those hoses and lines and cables. What a maintenance nightmare. Okay, so now all the subframe bushings and mounts and all that, they all still look pretty good. They're stock or whatever. I'm not gonna swap them out for anything performance. I might at one point go with an auto speed trans cross member. They're relatively inexpensive. I saw one on a stage 3 locally here, and it piqued my interest. I didn't even know they made one for Tiptronic cars. So, okay, so next up I can raise up the subframe and make sure I get all my wires up the back of the firewall. At which point we should be good to go. I wonder what this little blue cap is right here. I don't know. Okay, I wonder if that's for filling. That would be handy. Oh, you know what? That might be the differential. Who knows? Okay, stay tuned. Okay, here we go. What I'm doing here is raising up the subframe now. So, I don't know how most people do it, but this is all that I got to work with. So, I got a jack underneath the trans, essentially. And, I still have my cherry picker holding up the front of the engine. And, I'm pretty much just wiggling back and forth. So, I'm going to jack this up, and you can kind of see I'm already getting close, really close. So, let's see. I think if I jack this up, oh, yeah, a little bit higher. Okay. Alright, so the front's pretty close to being lined up. And let's see where we're at for the back here. Okay. There's the back. Not bad, actually. The mounts are pretty much underneath the holes, so we're doing pretty good. This isn't the most ideal way to do it with this board like this, but whoops, what else can I say? Alright, so there you have it. I'm gonna keep wiggling and finessing this into place.